There are no accidents when it comes to the divine. If this message found you, it means the spiritual world has been watching, waiting, because only a select few carry what I'm about to reveal. These aren't talents. They aren't skills. They're marks, sacred signs that prove you were chosen before you were even born. This isn't about religion. It's not about tradition. It's about recognition of who you really are in the eyes of heaven. Do you ever feel like you've never really belonged anywhere? Like your soul came here with a mission, but the world keeps trying to distract you from it? That feeling isn't random. That disconnection you feel is a spiritual echo, calling you back to your origin, back to your purpose. You've always known you were different. Maybe you didn't have the words for it, but your energy never lied. The way people look at you, the way they react to your presence without you saying a word, it's always been a sign. You are marked. And the truth is, being chosen doesn't come with applause. It comes with isolation, because the world fears what it cannot understand. It mocks what it cannot control. And it tries to break what it secretly envies. If you've been cast out, left out, or walked away from, know this: you were never meant to fit in. You were born to stand out, not for attention, but because your light was meant to lead others out of darkness. They called you strange, too deep, too intense, too quiet, too emotional. But that's because you see beyond the surface. You feel energy others ignore. You sense when something is off, even if no one said a word. You're not paranoid. You're spiritually sensitive. You've always had a kind of knowing, a discernment that can't be explained. You see people's intentions before they reveal themselves. You recognize lies behind smiling faces. That's not something you learned. That's something you were born with. That's one of your marks. And you've been tested more than most. You've walked through storms that would have drowned others. But every time you were knocked down, you rose again. Not because you're lucky, but because you're chosen. The enemy came for you early because he saw what was on you. Even as a child, you were attacked. Maybe it was through trauma, through abandonment, through abuse. But those weren't just hardships. They were attempts to silence your spirit before you could awaken. But you're still here. That means the darkness failed. And whether you realize it or not, everything you've been through has sharpened your spirit. It's awakened a strength in you that few possess. You didn't just survive. You were refined, like gold through fire. And now your presence carries weight. That's why people either love you deeply or feel uneasy around you. Your energy exposes hidden things. Your silence speaks louder than words. That's not arrogance. That's divine authority. You may have noticed how strangers open up to you, how people feel safe in your presence. That's not coincidence. That's your spirit radiating light in a dark world. You're a safe space for broken souls, a lighthouse for the lost. But even with that gift, you've felt lonely, misunderstood. You've poured into others, only to be left empty. You've loved deeply, but rarely received the same. That's because your heart was made different. It wasn't built to blend in, it was built to bless. But don't let your loneliness lie to you. You're not forgotten. You're being hidden. God hides his most powerful warriors before their greatest battles. You're not being ignored. You're being prepared. Your silence is not punishment. It's preparation. You've been on the sidelines, not because you're not worthy, but because what's ahead requires more strength than most are willing to develop. And you, yes, you, have been strong enough to walk this lonely path, even when no one clapped for you. And in the midst of your pain, your spirit has been awakening. Have you noticed how material things don't satisfy you the way they used to? How conversations that once excited you now feel empty? How you crave peace more than noise? That's your elevation. That's your vibration rising. You're not the same. And people around you can feel it. Some are drawn to you. Others are intimidated. But all of them can sense. You are no longer asleep. You've become a mirror. You reflect truth. And truth can't be faked. That's why the attacks have increased. That's why your old habits started falling apart. Because you are being rebuilt from the inside out. Your purpose is too big for your past to carry. So parts of you had to be broken. So your real power could be revealed. This is not the end. This is the activation. This is the moment where heaven whispers, now. Because the world needs what you carry. The chosen ones are rising. And you are one of them. So ask yourself again, do you feel like you were made for more? Do you feel something inside you stirring, even now? That's not imagination. That's memory. Your soul remembers who you are. And it's time you do too. You didn't just stumble into this life by accident. You were planted with purpose, designed with intention, and marked with power long before you were ever born. And now, as the veil begins to lift, your spirit is awakening to what it always knew. You are chosen. But this calling doesn't come without cost. You've already paid for it through your tears, your trials, your heartbreaks, and your isolation. But what the world saw as your breaking was really your building. Each rejection was redirection. Every betrayal was exposure. Every delay was divine. People didn't leave you because you weren't enough. They left because they couldn't access where you were headed. God removed what couldn't walk with you in this next chapter, and while you may have grieved their absence, your soul knew their presence would have poisoned your purpose. You were never meant to carry everyone into your elevation. That's why your circle has gotten smaller. That's why the silence around you has grown louder. Because heaven is speaking, and it's telling you to get ready. Chosen ones carry a weight that others can't understand. That's why your life has always felt heavier. It's why you felt emotions more deeply. Why you sensed energies that others ignored. You weren't crazy. You were called. And that spiritual radar you have, that intuition that's never wrong, that's one of your divine gifts. It's what protects you in rooms where your name is spoken in ways your ears will never hear. It's what warns you when someone's smile hides a dagger. You don't need evidence. You just know. And that knowing is sacred. But with that sensitivity comes a responsibility. You're not here just to survive. You're here to shift atmospheres. Your presence changes things. Your words carry vibration. Your silence speaks louder than noise. That's why people feel strange around you. That's why they either cling to you or push you away. Your light activates something in their soul, something they've been avoiding. You don't just walk into rooms. You awaken them. That's spiritual authority. And the enemy has known about it longer than you have. That's why he tried to crush you early. He saw your potential. He knew if you ever discovered who you really were, it would be over for him. So he sent attacks before you could understand your power. He sent people to wound you, sent situations to confuse you, planted seeds of doubt, insecurity, and fear. Because if he couldn't destroy you, he'd at least try to distract you. But what he didn't realize is what was meant to kill you only crowned you. Your pain became your platform. Your scars became your strength. And now, the very things you thought disqualified you have become your testimony. You've been walking this path alone for a reason. Because your elevation required isolation. You couldn't grow in the noise. You couldn't awaken surrounded by those still asleep. So you were separated, not for punishment, but for protection. Because had you stayed where you were, you would have dimmed your light to keep others comfortable. But now, you're stepping into a season where shrinking is no longer an option. You were never meant to be small, and heaven will no longer allow you to hide. You've probably noticed how the world has changed around you, how time feels different, how your spirit gets restless when you're not aligned. That's because your frequency is shifting. You're vibrating higher. And when that happens, anything low vibrational starts falling away. Old habits break. Old relationships fade. Old patterns stop working. That's not loss. It's alignment. You're not losing your life. You're stepping into your real one. And as you walk further into this calling, don't be surprised when demons start revealing themselves. Not in horns and flames, but through people, through manipulation, jealousy, confusion, and chaos. But don't fear them. They only attack what threatens them. You don't need to fight. Your light already exposes them. Just stay rooted in truth. Speak when led. Move when guided. And trust, heaven is backing you. Some of you are wondering why you've never really found love that matches your heart. It's because your heart is rare. And rare things can't be mishandled. God's been preserving your love for someone equally called, equally marked, equally aligned. You were never meant for ordinary love. You were meant for divine partnership. And until that season comes, you're being taught how to love yourself completely. Because the love you're preparing to give will be healing to someone's soul. But first, you had to learn how to give it to your own.